Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Glorious Reacts. Before we begin, I would like to introduce ourselves. I'm your friend from down under, Arnold, and I am joined by the guys. The thriller from Manila, Joel. Say hi, Joel.
Hey guys, what's up?
And our very own Singapore sling, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Hello.
The wheel of time turns, and the age that once gave birth to this myth, to this massive myth that is the Wheel of Time series of books, have come again in order to finally bring this fantasy epic to our screens. In this episode of Glorious Reacts, we discuss the first 3 episodes of the Wheel of Time series as streamed on Amazon's Prime Video streaming service. But before we continue, I would like to inform you, dear audience, that this is not a spoiler-free show and that we will be talking directly about the events that occurred in today's series of episodes, most of which will be revealing key story elements. If you have not watched any of these episodes and wish to remain unspoiled, stop right here and come back once you have watched them. Without further ado, let's get right to it. Now, we will be regaled by a recap from
Doing it Gleeman style.
Gleeman style. I'm waiting for the song
No.
from Paul. So,
No.
so take it away, Paul.
Okay, so first of all, I am going to I'm going to apologize for the fans of the Wheel of Time if I butcher any of the names.
That's all right. We're gonna be stumbling
I'm
along
sure
the way.
that a lot of Wheel of Time fans don't
There
even know
will
the actual
be
pronunciation.
butchering going on a lot. Okay, so the show starts with Moraine telling us about the breaking of the world. Moraine and Lan set out on their quest to find the Dragon Reborn. Their search leads them to the region of Two Rivers. During the annual Winter Night celebration, Trollocs invade the town and capture the town wisdom Nynaeve.
Nynaeve.
There you go, Nynaeve. That's one.
First stumbling block.
Moraine and Lan successfully defend the town against the invading Trollocs. However, Moraine is injured in the attack. As the townspeople survey the damage done by the invaders, Moraine and Lan convince Egwene, Rand, Mat, and Perrin to follow them to the White Tower.
Woohoo.
They hastily make their way to Taran Ferry as Moraine informs the group that Trollocs cannot survive or cannot cross deep water. While traveling through the Aspen Forest, they encounter a band of White Cloaks, or Children of the Light. Moraine informs the group not to speak until spoken to and gives her great serpent ring, the symbol of her being an Aes Sedai, to her warder Lan to hide so that the White Cloaks will not know that she is an Aes Sedai. As they camp for the night, the worsening Moraine questions Lan's decision to travel so close to the ruins of the once great city Shadar Logoth. The group wakes up just in time to witness a Fade commanding a horde of Trollocs. They run and make their way to the outer walls of Shadar Logoth. And to their surprise, the Trollocs stop their pursuit. They enter the city. They spend the whole day in Shadar Logoth and awake to shadows consuming one of their horses. The group is split. Rand with Mat, Perrin with Egwene, and Moraine with Lan.
Nice catch.
Okay. Both groups, both meaning Rand and Mat and Perrin and Egwene, decide to make their way to the White Tower, while the severely poisoned Moraine and Lan are confronted by Nynaeve,
Nynaeve.
who escaped her Trolloc captor. Nynaeve attempts to cure Moraine from the Trolloc poison, but to no avail. She's able to stifle the effect, but not completely heal her, as the only other person, um, individual that can heal the Trolloc poison is another Aes Sedai. Rand and Matt end up at Breen Spring, which is some similar to a quarry town. They look for food and shelter at the Four Kings Inn and meet the gleeman Thom Merrilin. Egwene and Perrin make their way across Caroling and are welcomed by the Tuathan. Is that correct? Tuathan. Or the Tinkers into their camp. Lan and Nynaeve bring Nynaeve. Oh my god. Bring the poisoned Moraine to an Aes Sedai camp at the Southern Forest Massif. They discover that the Aes Sedai there have captured a man who claims to be the Dragon Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
That recaps all 3 episodes.
That recaps all 3 episodes. It's such a brave effort. Well done.
This is the only time we're doing this, right? Because after this, it's gonna be one
Per
recap,
episode.
one per episode, because we've caught up basically. We've caught up.
So let us now try to find and tease out highlights for the show. And today, I would like to start the highlights. So, just as a full disclosure, I have never read the books, or nor have any other reference to the Wheel of Time, apart from being told that this is amazing. But the sheer volume of books that's already in that's already available, it's just completely overwhelmed me. One thing though that's completely kept me intrigued is the fact that the writer of the series, Robert Jordan, was highly influenced by the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, one of my favorite storytellers, and particularly the Lord of the Rings. But I've never had that motivation to actually jump in and try. I didn't even try doing that for our review, but now I'm piqued. My interest is now clearly piqued, and I'll probably try listening to or reading through the first book. Now, one of the main things that really caught my attention about the entire story, okay, not just particularly the TV show, but the entire story, is the concept of the wheel and what it represents, and how it's tied to a lot of themes that have been brought up by in the first 3 episodes. So, if I understand correctly, and Joel, you probably have to, as the guy who's read the most,
Like 20 years ago.
that's fine. It's more than still either of us. So it seems like the concept of the wheel is I've picked up a few themes. So one is obviously the cycle of life and death, rebirth. Apparently, we have that sequence in the first episode where the village in Two Rivers, where we meet our 4 protagonists, and where Moraine visits, is celebrating a festival that sounded similar to the Mexican festival of the Day of the Dead.
Oh yes, Day of the Dead.
Wherein they're celebrating their dead relatives, their dead loved ones, kind of like enticing them to come back, as part of their belief of how souls can be reborn when the wheel turns, right? When the wheel turns, come back to when I guess the soul is returned to the world, right? We have this conversation between Rand and his father about how their mother may eventually come back to the world and reborn as a different individual, obviously, but still just an old soul. So that seemed to be very, very critical to their belief system. One of the things that Moraine explains is how there was this voice. Was it a voice over? Was this part of her exposition in the beginning, wherein she mentioned that there was a time wherein there was an age wherein amazing things happened that became myth,
Yeah.
Legend and then myth, and then the myth is
That's
forgotten.
yeah, that's actually like the iconic quote of the
Gotcha.
series.
All right, all right. The series of books, even in the series of books, is it
Yes.
very
It all,
similar?
if I remember correctly, all of the books always start with that quote.
Oh, okay, okay.
But
Oh,
they
nice.
they did in this episode and in these episodes they ended the first episode with it.
Oh, it was in the ending. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That myth is eventually forgotten, but the age that started it will eventually come around, wherein that myth will
Myth
be
turns to
retold.
legend. No, sorry, legend turns to myth. Myth and even myth is forgotten.
It's forgotten, and then suddenly the age
And then
that
it comes
brought
back.
that legend about will come around again,
Yeah.
which makes me think that everything is repeated, or things that have happened in the past will eventually. This is very similar to how you believe that when you don't learn from the past, it's bound to repeat again. Mistakes from the past will be bound to be repeated. I mean, I got that the return of myth seemed to be an important
Mhm.
concept as well. One other thing that caught my attention regarding the wheel is how you know how the barmaid
Dana.
Dana mentioned, we find out later on that she's not exactly just horny for the two boys. She's a dark friend, bound body and soul to the dark one. She
Mhm.
said that uh, the wheel is also representing the repetition of hardship. Well, how everybody, how people seem to be stuck in this repetition of
Mm.
Mhm.
of um, being in the same place and they cannot escape. That that seemed to be a very very strong um, expression of how not only just the drudgery of every day, but we're talking about a repeat, obviously, of terrible things like war, famine. She lists this all out, and that one of the things that dragon that everybody seems to be coming looking for, the Dragon Reborn, is to break that wheel, to stop
Mm.
it from repeating, because it seemed like at least a lot of these characters seem to believe that they have no agency, and this is something I'm very curious,
Mm.
Joel,
Mm.
if you've picked this up, and this is going to be a bigger theme, is that they seem to believe that they have no agency. They don't have any choice about what's happening to them, and they blame the wheel for keeping them in this loop. And then they just wait. They're born. They live their life in the dirt, apparently, according to Dana's story, until the dirt is covered over them when they die. So this is, it just seems to be just very very strong topics, themes that I'm looking forward to being repeated, being reviewed a lot, at least in the first season. Um, the world of the wheel is intriguing. I think that's what it's called. The world of the wheel. It doesn't have a name, like an
Yeah,
official name, right?
I don't think it does.
Um,
I don't remember it having an official name.
I looked around and I found the world of the wheel, and I'm keeping with that because the other one's Rand World, and I kind of like don't like it.
No.
Is it Rand World or Rand Wheel? I'm assuming it's because he's very important. Um, um, and I'm not very certain if this is the past Earth or the future Earth. It seemed like because in the concept of how the wheel is repeating itself, it seems to be both.
Mhm.
There was a wide shot in the early part of the first episode when Moraine and Lan were on their way to that village in Two Rivers, where we see these tall stone, what looked like limestone cliffs, but I
Mhm.
think are buildings that have
Oh.
fallen
No.
to ruin. They
No,
look
no, no.
because they had cutouts. They had like window cutouts. So I'm not sure.
Isn't that where the breaking of the world started?
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure if it's.
But when that happened, um those were the
Oh, it came out of nowhere.
basically those erupted
Ah.
But
after the break.
even if you remember the first spot where they camped, they actually camped near a place that looked like an old
Exactly.
like a
They had, like,
limestone version of a building.
it's like
It had a
Mm.
doorway,
It's like-
it had windows.
it's fossilized already, turned into stone, so you won't see that if it was man-made or not. But clearly, it's been etched out. The doorways and the openings seem to be a bit more too perfect to be naturally made. So I'm just assuming that it was like old Earth has been
So
overrun.
does that mean it's similar to Dune, where they're
Well, Dune is set in a different planet altogether.
yeah,
but
would
they're
think that
human
this-
beings from Earth, right?
That's the thing. That's the thing. It seems
Yeah, I would
like
think that
it.
this would be similar to Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
something like that. So it's like 800 years into the future, and you see all of these things. Because in Horizon, it's so far, it's not that far ahead, wherein you no longer recognize the metal girders are all still there.
They're still there.
Yeah, you can still see cars and stuff like that. But here, it's like completely fossilized. So I'm just like, what? Is it?
That's
past?
actually-
Is it
And it would actually explain some of my lows.
but
yeah.
Okay, cool. Then I touched about this earlier. The influence in Lord of the Rings is very, very clear. I mean, there are a lot of sequences in this movie. That's kind of like this. I mean, let's just start off from the four. the four
The four
characters.
individuals who are very important
The four very important individuals, and I was looking
from a region that is hardly touched by war.
correct. Yes. So I mean, that region is clearly a reference to the Shire.
Is that true? Because isn't that region, like, isn't that place, okay, where they're from, that region?
No, I'm not talking about the ancient, but since then it has hardly been touched by war.
Right.
They consider themselves outside of the
Of the daily things that happen and the worldly things.
Okay.
Remember what the mother of Egwene was saying? Wars are what was that? Stupid things done by stupid people.
Stupid, yeah, for
Something
stupid
like that.
reasons.
Yeah.
For stupid, something like that.
Foolish.
Yeah,
I think it's more
foolish.
more foolish, not stupid.
Yeah.
Foolish is a little bit more.
Are you talking about
classy.
the mother or the one who raised her? The old wisdom who raised
No, not
her?
Nynaeve. The mother of
Yeah,
Egwene. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
yeah at the while they were cleaning up
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's
Before the encounter.
before the YA portal.
the YA. Before the Twilight sequence.
Yeah,
let's see.
that was not in the books, by the way.
Of course, they had to
They
put that
just
there.
added
It's
that.
more like it. It's hotter that way. So let's go back to the references to Lord of the Rings, because obviously that one.
Someone
anything
enjoyed
like
the
that.
scene.
I mean, so the four young people, right?
Mhm.
And then
They were also younger in the books.
they were younger in the books. Yes, correct. I read somewhere that originally Jordan wanted this to be an old man who discovered how important he was in the entire story, and then he switched it over to four young people, kind of similar to how Tolkien decided on a relatively young race, the halflings, to be the protagonists of the story. A young innocent race to be the protagonists of the story. Then we have obviously a wizened, what do you call this? Well, we don't have
Magic user.
we don't have the magic user.
Wizard.
We don't have Gandalf leading the four out.
Yeah,
in their
but we
run.
also have a peddler visiting during
yes.
right before a festival.
That was
or a
one of the
party.
smaller one. So we have the escape, we have the run, and then they're being chased by something that looks oddly like
Orcs.
Orcs
well,
and
not particularly
the-
orcs, but the Fae just reminded me of the
Fae,
of
the-
the,
Oh,
the-
right,
also
right,
the-
right.
the-
Yeah.
of the Nazgul. On
I like the
horseback.
Nazgul better.
Well, I like the Fae as well.
No, I mean, like the armor design is. I like the armor design of the Nazgul.
I was like, hey, look, it's the mouth of Sauron.
without his helmet.
Without his helmet on. I would have expected him to have no eyes as well, because with that
Yeah.
helmet like that, who would need eyes? So I was just enjoying it. Obviously, I didn't find it like completely like stealing the idea. It's just that as I was going through the story, it's like, all right, okay, some of the story beats, also not only some, but a lot of the story beats just are resonating with me because of how similar they are to the Lord of the Rings. And I think I'll be doing a lot of this because apparently he put in a lot of influences in the early books in the story from the Lord of the Rings, which is
Yeah.
great. I'm actually
Before
looking
stuff
forward.
like really changes. Yeah.
I'm certain because there's a lot more story that's being told in the 14 freaking number of books compared to the 3 that Tolkien managed to produce. Except that obviously there's a lot more politics. I think that politics seems to be a lot more fleshed out. There's a lot more squabbling between the people. There's a great adventure, right? Similar to how Frodo and company are off on a great adventure. But
Yep.
interspersed is obviously the Aes Sedai, the Children of the Light. Children of the Light, by the way, was like, huh, where have I heard that? And I just remembered I haven't finished. I think they are from the 100. So it's a
Oh, yeah.
right, the Children of the Light. So I was like, oh wow, okay, completely different story altogether, not related to the Wheel of Time at all. And and I'm enjoying that. So the politics obviously is very, very curious, how one organization seems to be hunting the other, and they're like very similar to how the snake, how the symbol of they've decided for the TV series is a
The
snake
Ouroboros.
biting the Ouroboros. And is that the same in the books?
It's really the one in the book.
Okay, except that
But
the
it's just
Ouroboros.
one, and then there's a wheel. There's an actual wheel. I forgot the others. There's like 3 wheels in the
Oh,
books.
gotcha. Okay, I thought it was some sort of like, instead of being set in a coil that goes around, that it obviously like a 3D coil that you're looking down on. I thought it was more of a shape of an infinity on its side.
No.
But
It really is like a wheel.
okay, there you go. There was 3 different things, 3 different circle things. And so it was cute because it was like everybody. There's this big thing, but everybody was too busy with their little things, and they're now weakening because they're eating into each other. One of the interpretations, and I'm enjoying that. I'm looking forward to that. Finally, the last thing I want to point out: the 4 oaths, which is something new.
3 oaths. 3 oaths.
Oh, sorry, the 3 oaths, not the 4. The 3 oaths that the Aes Sedai apparently cannot break. As part of, is it part of their ability to wield the one power?
It was Maureen. I can say this because it was also mentioned in the show. After one battle or one war, I think that they were defeated, and then they were forced to take on these 3 oaths by,
Gotcha.
I forget the name.
Okay. So something
and
in
then
the
I just like
something
to
in the
correct
past.
myself. In the books, apparently it is infinity. The
Oh,
snake
gotcha.
forms an
There
infinity.
you go. I thought I saw, and then there was like a sword that goes through it. I sort of saw that iconography there somewhere. But I also saw that one with the 3 wheels each other. So I guess it's a developing imagery. And yeah, so the 3 oaths, it was an interesting concept. One of the things I wanted to point out, the parallelisms, that's not exactly a parallelism, it's more of like a contradictions. The representation of power between Lord of the Rings and in the Wheel of Time. In Lord of the Rings, the ultimate power is something to be shunned. It's something to be do not go for it because it's bad. It'll
But
consume
only if
you.
you're a guy.
In Lord of the Rings.
Oh, sorry, in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
It's completely and absolutely corrupting, the power in the Lord of the Rings. There's just a few things that is not completely corrupting, like the rings of the 3 rings of the elves. But that's an entirely different thing altogether. In the Wheel of Time, the one power is there to be wielded and used, and as far as I can tell, has no the usage has no bad things, unless you obviously channel too much of it, in which apparently you in one story that Moraine shared, somebody took too much, and she
The queen.
and
The
she was
queen,
consumed by the power, and so I was assuming that these oaths were put in place as a way to prevent them from over using the one power. But you're saying that something happened in the past, that a different organization or a different entity actually forces upon them, and they literally cannot break it. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay. I wonder what forces them to if it's
They
the one
they,
power
they have.
itself.
I think okay. I can talk about this because it's also been shown in the trailers. If you remember that scene in some of the trailers where they had Lan in the middle and then they were all in white
Yes.
and then they had this like a staff.
Mm-hmm.
So each Aes Sedai, whenever they ascend to becoming a sister, they have to swear their oaths on that staff, and it sort of binds them. I think, if I remember correctly, it number one binds them to their warder, and it binds them to the three oaths.
Oh.
Interesting.
So it's
Okay.
magically placed upon them
It's
that they
magically
cannot
placed.
break their oaths.
Fantastic. And she's been.
Well,
she's been-
Yeah, yes. I mean, sorry. That explains why it was mentioned that Lan can feel the pain.
Yes,
Of the
because they're bound.
poison,
Yes,
yeah.
they're bound.
Speaking of that one, if Lan felt it, he's just completely solid stone.
No, yeah, he's
Yeah,
cold as ice,
Wow.
yeah.
stone cold killer.
Stone-
I noticed that the Aes Sedai had different colors. Does that
Yeah.
Very
is that just a
Yeah.
Very reminiscent.
wardrobe choice
No,
or
no, no,
They're
apparently.
Is
called
there-
Ajas. Just like they're called Ajas, and it speaks to their specialization.
Yes.
Oh.
So the red Ajas, the ones that we see in the first sequence of going after that one guy
Mm.
who touched the source, the male
Yeah.
the male half of the source.
Yeah.
They are the ones. They're sort of the hunters. They're the more militant Aja, and then you've got.
When you
I
say
think you've got-
specialization, is it akin to like say fire or magic or no, not particularly?
no, not
It's
necessarily.
just more of
It's
like
just
how they use
yeah,
the one source.
what their discipline is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you've got the more militant ones, and then you've got the ones who are more into research, into history, and all of
cool.
that. The green Aja, I think, are the ones who are better at healing. Of course, they're green, they're life. So yeah, they're the ones who are better at healing. All of those things have, and then their mother superior, the head of the Aes Sedai has a stole with all the seven colors.
Oh.
Because she's capable. She's
So
trained
she
enough.
represents all the seven Ajas.
Oh, so there's nothing stopping you from actually learning how to learn. Oh, well, okay, never mind. I mean, I'm hoping that this is something that will be fleshed out in the later parts
Yeah.
of the.
I'm sure when we get to
series.
that backstory of Maureen and Lan, they're gonna discuss that. The
Okay.
history of the Aes Sedai.
Yes. Okay. Shout out to Lan being the most stoic guy, regardless of whatever he's doing. But I mean, that sequence wherein they were fighting the Trollocs in the village, amazing.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
so cool.
That was
Yeah.
That was so cool.
that was like, all right.
The
so
synchronization that they had,
The
and that just goes to show how the bond.
the
between-
bond, yes. So they're clearly, this is clearly a
And before the fight, we already saw the bond when they were in the hot tub together.
Well, yeah, but it was shown. But
What I
the
meant-
bond isn't like that. The bond
Yeah,
isn't
no,
like that.
exactly. That's my point. Okay, that's my point. I'm not saying they're in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they're very comfortable with each other. They're like, really like
Yeah,
wherever
family or
she goes, I go. Whatever she does, I do.
Although I was kind of laughing at the could be hotter,
I know. They obviously help each other, support.
and then
each
he
other.
just could be hotter.
Mm.
All right, he's cool.
And obviously the part I was actually gonna highlight is the fact that they know their roles they know their roles. They're in complete synchronization. I mean, it's important that they are synchronized and supporting each other completely. So you have the Aes Sedai in the middle and her warden protecting her, preventing any physical damage from her, so that she can do her magics and stuff like that. Really awesome.
they call it weaving.
Is it? Yes, weaving.
Oh.
Weaving. So this is the thing. That's why you see in the opening sequence.
In the opening sequence.
Yeah.
We have that.
The fabric.
We have that.
It's like the fabric that goes like this.
Correct. And it produces a nice what do you call it? A tapestry. There you go.
Yeah.
Showing the different Ajas.
the different touches. And the one
And it ripples, right? It rippled.
yes.
Like the intro, it rippled. The tapestry rippled.
It being an epic fantasy. the first thing that probably when the opening started was like the first thing that came into my mind is okay, how will this challenge
How does this
Game of
introduce
Thrones
us?
in that regard? And then obviously it did its own thing. It's not as impactful as far as the music is concerned, but I really like the visuals, and I think it's telling a story as well in that regard. I don't think it's gonna be changing like
The introduction.
like the
I-
intro.
It might.
Oh,
It might.
oh,
Wow.
okay. In the
It might.
seasons, maybe. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, the seasons are per book. It seems like
No, because
That's impossible. I don't think that's possible.
They I've heard that they planned for 8.
Yes,
8
it is
seasons.
8. It's definitely 8, and I'll
For Eye of the World?
yes.
No.
Oh,
No, for the
entire
season.
thing.
For the
for
season.
the entire thing.
Yeah.
No,
8
for the
seasons
first
for the
season.
entire thing?
Oh yeah, but even for the there's eight episodes.
8
also
episodes for the current season.
for
The
one
second season is already been greenlit, but we don't know how many.
Yeah, they're already shooting.
They're already shooting since the beginning of this, since the middle of this year. But I just had a few. I'll share this later on. So with what I think is gonna be how this season's gonna be paced. So let's go with Paul because Joel's got a long list. Let's have him do the last.
Oh, okay. So for me, Highs, Rosamund Pike.
Yep.
Stole the whole show. For me, at least, she stole the whole show.
Shout out to my boy
And-
Lan. Come on.
I mean, okay. I'll get
You don't like the Carrot Top?
what?
What's her name?
Joshua,
Him.
what's his name? Joshua Stratovsky, the kid who played Randall Fall.
Oh no. I mean, he's okay, but it seemed like Rosamund Pike is on a very different level across the actors. So I don't know. It just felt that she was miles away from all of them, and it just felt like it was her show. I mean, if it was supposed to be someone else's show, it didn't feel like it was. So
thank
so
God.
that's
She's
the
a
weird
main
thing.
character.
Yeah. So yeah, she's for me, she stole the show, and that's a plus because of what I've informed you guys a while ago before about the audiobook.
Yeah.
She her recording a new set
Because
of audiobooks
she's
for
an
the Wheel of
actual
Time.
fan of the,
I'm
of the book
gonna
series.
grab that one. I'm gonna grab
And
that
she was
one.
actually instrumental in making sure that this show happens.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's one of the highs. Second is the scenery, the shooting locations, amazing. It really felt like an epic fantasy. And it's so weird because I was thinking, is it gonna be similar to how the Game of Thrones felt like? But this is the feel of this is different. Where it really shows them moving from one location to another. Whereas Game of Thrones, you're immediately there. You're in the Iron Throne. You're in Westeros. You're in what's the islands away from Westeros
Bravos.
where the slaves are. Well, whatever there, and then or you're where the White Walkers are.
Okay.
But here they show the people traveling, and it actually adds up. I don't know. Maybe some people don't think it adds anything, but when you see the people riding to a location, it actually adds. It adds the length of time. It feels like it's gonna take them this much time to get there. So and those are the pauses that you need to let the show breathe a bit, and to make it more epic.
To make
than
it feel
seems.
to make it expand.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Make it- Sorry, I just wanted to interject real quick. Another thing that I saw, it automatically just clicked in my head when I was seeing it. You know that sequence when they were walking, there was this aerial shot and they were walking in a line. Suddenly, unfortunately, in my head, when I was seeing that sequence, suddenly it just played in my head. Dun, 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 dun. I was like, oh no, it's the Fellowship of the Ring. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. The lore. Okay. I came into the show not knowing anything, and now I am thinking of ways to be able to get ahead of the show. It's like, should I
Dude, you're
get the
gonna
audiobooks and start listening to them?
In 2 times
Because
speed.
I looked at the audio, look at the times for the audiobook. The first
They're
one, Eye of the
long.
World, is
10 hours.
27 hours.
27? I saw
Yeah.
one
It's
that's
long.
10 hours.
It's long.
The last book is 41 hours. It's
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah, because I think each book
24 hours in a
Uh,
day, Paul. There's 24 hours in a day.
yeah, and Robert Jordan was known for being very descriptive in the way that he wrote. So
Is he
even the
Tolkien?
way that you would turn a doorknob, he would
Yeah,
actually describe
he's
that. All
Is
of
he
Okay.
those.
Tolkien-esque in terms
He's
of this?
Tolkien 2.0 or Tolkien Light.
I mean, the way he
Because
writes, because
yeah.
that's very much Tolkien style as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not. He's no Hemingway. So nice.
Yeah, so watching the first episode made me want to watch the second episode, then
Yeah.
the third,
Yeah,
and
me
then you
too.
find out there's nothing left
Yeah.
until Friday, right? So then you say, should I get the audiobooks?
Should I finish the first book
Should I
between
discover-
now and
Yeah,
Friday?
and
On
Friday,
Oh
just
my
rush
God.
the whole thing. Anyway, so
So
yeah,
I've
and
got-
and the 3 episodes that we've gotten introduced to the mission, then the organization. So we have the White Cloaks. You see a glimpse of them, but you have questions. Ah, you see what I did there? Because what are they about? What are they doing? It seems like they mistrust. They hunt the Aes Sedai, but they also because when
The Lord
they saw
Commander.
the Lord Commander saw the wound, he specifically said you have to go to the village and get an Aes Sedai to heal your wound because they're the only ones who can heal it. But they hunt them also, so it's kind of what. So and then the Tinkers. Now that we meet the Tinkers, like who are these marauding gypsies?
They're gypsies.
They're
Yeah.
gypsies. They're traveling. They're not marauding. They're travelers.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
they're
they're
traveling.
moro-
And why are they there? Why do they have big dogs?
Hmm.
So there's all these questions like the Gleemen. The Gleemen don't look like they're just bards. I mean, Thom threw a dagger accurately.
No,
I think that I think that you could say they're bards in the D&D world.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to defend
Yeah.
all bards out there. Bards can
Oh.
fight.
Okay.
They don't just stand there and look cute.
Because his character is very interesting as well.
Mm. Yep.
So
And he's also very important.
There you
so
go.
there's a lot of things like just going through these 3 episodes. They bring up so many things. The heron on the sword of
Mhm.
Tam. You see that like, oh, that's important. But
Mhm.
you see Lan. You think maybe it's something to do with Lan, but then Lan doesn't say anything about the sword. I mean, he probably saw the sword, right?
We don't know.
Yeah.
It's not shown in the show.
Right. But so you kind of think like,
I was
what-
waiting
what-
for somebody
there's
to
so
react.
many things there's so many important things that are happening that you just want to get the whole thing and binge watch the whole season, which we're not able to do. But yeah, so yeah, I guess that's a lot of highs. I mean, I'm just saying that in categories there's 3, but the whole show left me wanting to watch more of it, and then from watching more of it to actually wanting to read the books and thinking maybe I should spend time and invest time into reading the books.
No. I feel the
All
same way.
14 of them.
I feel
So,
the same way. Yeah.
It's basically how when we talked about Dune made me want to watch. Made me want to read the first book, which I did, right? So, yeah. So
You even
that gave
Put in
me
the
same
effort
feeling.
to watch the 1980
Exactly.
84 movie.
For-
That's
for
a lot
science.
of motivation, for learning, for discussion.
learning.
And there you go.
So yeah, so those are my highs. On to Joel.
Okay. I just have a few. Well, the first thing, like what we all noticed, the opening sequence does focus a lot on the organization of the Aes Sedai, and I really like the fact that they are focusing on Moraine's character first, because the books actually it's your regular hero's journey. So you have these 4 kids who are suddenly thrust into a life that they're not used to. They have to travel somewhere else, and then they just so happen to have this guide, who is a
A wizened
magic user.
advisor of some sort.
Yeah.
Who just manages to produce fireballs from our fingers.
Yeah, fireballs and can command lightning and all of that. Right. So yeah. So but the books actually, if I remember correctly, again, the last time I read the books was probably close to 20 years ago. The first book. So yeah, but the Eye of the World focused immediately on Rand al'Thor.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, he is the main character of the
The first book,
series.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and the fact I'm going to allude to what Paul said, the fact that uh, all of the travel was being shown because it is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey of discovery, and the audience is taken on that journey of discovery. That's why it really helped that they showed all of that,
Yeah.
the traveling from one place to another, and then they didn't really, because one way to do it would just be to, okay, we're leaving and then we arrive.
Yeah.
Yes.
But here they actually showed the traveling because it brings the audience along for the trip,
Mm.
right?
And a couple of very
uh
important character development things happened along the way as well.
yeah, that I don't remember that song was pretty good, but it
Ah,
was a way for
yes.
them to put in the exposition about Manetheren.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that
Remembering,
song.
right? Remembering.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that song and the way that Perrin was the counter voice in that one.
Yeah, he
Wow,
was the
that's actually
bass.
pretty cool.
He was the bass,
I
exactly.
like it.
that's
He
pretty
was
cool.
the base of the boy bands. The boy
Yeah,
band.
boy band with
I mean,
with one.
it's no
with
Thorin Oakenshield plus 12 other dwarves singing in baritone about a mountain, but it was still pretty good. Right?
Yeah.
It was a cool song.
Yeah, it was a cool song. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it gave us that at the very least, and all of these other things, all of these other small details that help us, like what Paul said, help the story to breathe, help us to take in more of the character, more of who they really are.
Mm.
Yeah, and in general, I really like the focus on the Aes Sedai and their role in molding the world, as shown in the opening sequence. It's really focused on them. They're the ones who are pulling the strings. Yeah, there are literal strings in the opening sequence,
Yeah.
and then they form the Aes
Remember.
Sedai,
Yeah.
the different Ajas of the Aes Sedai.
Correct.
Right. So it really gets to it shows you their role in the world, in this world, the world of the wheel.
Interesting how we have had a second show. Obviously, there's more. It's just that the Aes Sedai feels a lot more like the Bene Gesserit
Bene
right now.
Gesserit. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Jordan also pulled some inspiration from Dune and the
From
Bene
Hubert.
Gesserit.
Ah, all right.
Yeah.
Wasn't he writing this around the same time? No, this
Dune
This
was
came out
60s,
Her-
right?
Hubert
90s.
was okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Frank
Herbert,
Herbert
sorry,
was
Herbert.
65.
Herbert
Frank
was
Herbert.
60s.
Yeah. So yeah, Herbert was the contemporary of Tolkien,
Mm.
Right.
and then Robert Jordan is they're the second
Generation.
generation of high fantasy writers.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, so that's one. So the focus on Moraine and basically the Aes Sedai. Next, you have the world building. I really like the world building that they have here. If I remember correctly, they started the book in Emond's Field right away, save for the prologue, right? Which showed the battle of Luister and Telamon, the dragon, and the Dark One, because that's what in the book, that's what happened. Yeah, and basically, if they had probably shown that, it would have been too similar to Lord of the Rings opening with the final battle between
Right.
I was there
the
3,000 years ago.
right, that one, and so they decided to do something
It'd be
different.
funny if we actually find out that Moraine was there 3,000 years ago when the battle
Hmm.
of Telamon and the dragon was happening.
Well, no.
Shh.
No, I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah, and also the way that they opened this, with that sequence with a guy,
Mhm.
because you don't quite know why the hell are these Aes Sedai tracking this one guy,
Mm.
Yeah.
but it also introduces the Sidar Sidin, the one power.
Mm.
Because that's the whole point of it. Like the one power, the female side, the side Dar, if I'm correct. That's the female side. It is untainted, but the dark one actually was able to taint the male side. That's why the madness always takes the if a man touches the one power.
Yep.
So, but they're both part of the same thing. And if you noticed, one of the clues in Emmon's Field was the sheep that were forming the.
Yes,
Yes.
the eye.
That looked like a teardrop, an upside
Yeah.
down teardrop.
Or yeah, half
Or
of
nine.
the yin yang thing,
Yeah.
because that's their symbol. The yin yang is also the symbol of the Sidar and Sidon.
I actually thought that the
cool.
Trollocs sprouted from the dead bodies of the sheep. It's like, hey, they look like sheep.
So no, they're supposed to look like boars.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
they didn't get that one.
Well, I
So
really.
I was expecting the nose. I was expecting the
They
nose.
were.
if
They
you
were
want.
very. They were
Yeah.
already. They were really orc-like. They were really pig-like.
They
With
reminded
the
me of.
tusks.
Oh,
They're really
okay.
pig-like.
They actually reminded me of not wargs. Dog-like.
Oh, you're
Dog
talking
like-
about.
Dog-like creatures, monsters.
You're talking
Yeah.
about. I'll remember that. It's a D&D character. It's a
Anyway,
fantasy
moving
character.
on.
That
Kobolds.
actually also parallels,
Kobolds.
if you remember, the
Kobolds
what
are
was
the
that?
dog
Gnolls.
Gnolls,
The
gnolls, yeah.
Is it the
gnolls.
gnolls or the kobolds? One of them.
The
The kobolds are the
aren't the kobolds like
dog-looking
the smaller ones?
They're
Yeah,
both-
the gnolls are the bigger ones. Gnolls, yeah. It reminds me of gnolls.
Okay.
Anyway, so if you if you remember the that scene with the sheep actually parallels the horse, the horses in Game of Thrones, in the first scene of Game of Thrones. But I don't remember if that was actually in the books. So maybe they were just okay. Let's do this. Let's steal an idea from Game of Thrones just to show that evil is coming.
Yeah.
So you do this, and it's in the form of the side of the male half of the one power.
Right. Yeah. That's the White Walkers. That the White Walkers are coming or something like that.
Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
that's
I
their
just
thing.
I just noticed that now. I just made the connection now. It's like, oh, right, yeah, okay.
So that's there. Okay, we are coming. So you have to prepare.
Yeah,
Right. How cordial of them, right?
exactly.
How courteous of the Myrdral and the Trollocs.
It doesn't really do anything because obviously the village still gets overrun.
Yeah,
Well,
the
not overrun,
village
but
to get massacred.
massacred. A lot of them got killed.
Yeah. So my next tie, it's the look. We all like the look. The locations are really good. The landscape. When the camera panned down, or you call it panning down, when the camera descends on Two Rivers on Emmons Field on the town, I really like the look of the houses, the feel. It's sort of, and even the grading that they used for it. It was sort of like, okay, this is like a nice memory, and everyone's so happy.
Yes,
Children are playing.
correct, Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then we focus on the inn, and everyone inside the inn having a good time.
All the women drinking. My gosh.
All the women drinking, and if you notice that this is the world of the wheel is actually very matriarchal.
Yes.
Yeah. They're the ones in power, right? That because they showed them killing one of the Trollocs as well
Yeah.
together, right? They had like
Yeah.
they
That was kind of
stabbed it.
weird, but okay, cool. But
It's a
yeah,
reinforcement, obviously, of that
Yeah.
concept as well.
and yeah,
I'm not sure if they're in power. We haven't seen the high level power. Oh, we know that
in
the sister.
I think that there's a king.
There you go.
But really, just like how the Aes Sedai, like the Bene Gesserit, like pull the strings behind the scenes, the Aes Sedai are the ones who are doing all of that.
Oh, I have to ask Joel. When they encountered the White Cloaks, I didn't notice a girl, a woman White Cloak.
There are no, if I remember correctly, there are no female White Cloaks.
Oh,
Goes to it already shows you why they're kind of like hunting down. Well, the questioners are kind of hunting down the Aes
Okay.
Sedai. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
okay, what are you doing?
yeah. To those who actually have read the books, if you remember otherwise or if you know otherwise, please comment down below. So yeah.
Hopefully, we'll find
So-
out.
Yeah. So the landscape of Two Rivers, Shadar Logoth. I really like that scene where Egwene and Rand were like
on the
right
top.
before they were holding hands,
Yeah,
rekindling their flame, and then just looking out at the city.
yeah.
The old
That's what
city.
really reminded me of Wall Maria. Yeah,
It's
Just
really
waiting
looks
for a
like Wall
titan to
Maria.
just show up. From
Yeah.
It reminded me of something else.
Intramuros.
No. I actually
Wow.
it reminded me of a stage in Dark Souls. If you play that game, there's a city that is empty, but it was how it looked like
Same
at the peak of
feel.
its achievement of like how grand the city was basically preserved, but it was totally empty. So in that scene, just it's very visceral because you see like how big and encompassing the city is, but how empty it
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 was
is
empty, but it
currently.
feels so claustrophobic because everything is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
close, right?
Yeah.
And the statues that they're using, like
Yeah.
even just that like that corner statue, like
Yeah,
you're
that guy.
expecting it to move.
Me
Yeah,
too.
because they focused on it, and then
Yeah,
it
yeah.
had like it was like as if it was holding something.
Yeah,
Exactly. I
yeah.
was just waiting for it to do the the Doctor Who
The
angels
Doctor
thing.
Who, the
So like,
angels, yeah, yeah.
so it's just right next to you. And for me, it looked almost like obviously the the first association I got was the City of the Dead in Lord of the Rings. The
Mm.
city of the men in the mountain.
Mm. Which
Also,
they actually are supposedly the parallel of that.
the parallel of that. Also, at the same time, they also a bit being outside because the city of the men in the mountain were inside the mountain. The it also parallel. It also made me feel like I was looking out on Osgiliath. You know how
Mm.
that town is essentially ruined because of all the fighting that's been happening there. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Same idea.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, location, Shadar logo, and then lastly the way that they shot Misty Mountain, the Misty Forest.
Mm. Quite misty.
I forgot. Yeah, quite misty. I think that was episode 3 already, so it was really cool. So yeah, location that was pretty good. The costumes and weapons, I love this particularly the costumes of Lan and Moraine. Yeah, and I'm just wonder, and even the white cloaks, right? I really like the
light,
whole
the white
pristine
cloak,
white,
yeah.
and then they have like
The
the
one-sided
what do you call
armor.
that?
It's a
pauldrons.
It's a
Yeah, the
pauldron
pauldron.
with something more on their upper arm, you know.
Yeah,
And then the color depicts their
Their
position.
rank or
yeah.
position.
Their-
Yeah. It's
yeah.
like gold
yeah,
for
because the High Commander had like
Exactly.
the Lord Commander had like gold, and then
Yeah.
the Questioner had like
silver.
I don't know,
or something.
platinum, because they supposedly they have a higher purpose.
No?
I have a question about Lan, since you mentioned like the costume, right? There was a conversation with the White Cloaks where
Where he came from.
he said where he came from, right? That the men who don't know how to
Men
you know,
don't touch.
from where he
Yeah.
comes from,
Yeah.
right? They get their hands sliced off. Does that basically mean that he is in comparing it to, I guess, I don't want to compare it to Lord of the Rings because
That's what I do. Don't worry.
because if you
That's my
compare it to
shtick.
Lord of the Rings, we're looking at the area where those elephants came from, right?
Oh, you're talking
The
about
war elephants.
Yeah, but that's the east. That's bad things come from the east.
Yeah.
So does in Wheel of Time does land come from the east?
Not necessarily.
They
Okay.
haven't.
Well,
they have
they
described.
did
They haven't
cast like
defined
an
it.
Asian-looking dude.
Right.
Although personally, I didn't really think that Lan was supposed to be Asian-looking.
Okay, gotcha.
Ah,
Okay.
Yeah,
It wasn't
it's just
supposed
that
to be.
it is their custom, and from where he is, that consent is key.
Okay.
Right? That was the statement there. I don't remember. Yeah. Again, 20 years. Yeah. So costumes and weapons, especially the weapon of Lan. If you notice that it actually had the two
Oh,
eyes
yes.
to die.
Yes.
Yeah, the sign.
Her
the hilt.
His hilt. Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. A pretty cool detail. And the practical effects. Like the Myrdral, the eyeless one, the fade. That was really cool. The Trollocs when they were closed up.
Yep.
All of the detail that they had. That was pretty
Dudes
cool.
dudes and stilts.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah,
the
dudes and
there was
stilts.
one scene I was so it was when the Trolloc saw another Trolloc who was injured.
Yeah, and then
I thought he was gonna help, and then he
No.
just
No.
slashed him
Yeah.
open and
Yeah,
started
and
eating him.
eating. Yeah.
That was
That's
good
just goes to
practical
show
effect.
What kind of
Yeah.
society they have.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's just like yeah, the orcs of no, the Urukai, like remember?
Do
Yeah,
the Urukai eat their own?
They don't
Looks like meat is back
meat-
on the menu,
Yes, exactly.
boys.
Oh,
But those are
right,
the orcs
that
of
scene.
Mordor. That's the orcs of Mordor.
Oh, yeah.
That's the ones in the tower. But so because the Urukai, it's a bit different. They're
They're more disciplined, right?
disciplined in terms of fighting. They'll never run away wounded.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So yeah, I'm gonna go through quickly because I still have a little bit. That's just a few more.
No, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. So going to acting for me, Paul only found Rosamund Pike's acting as good. For me, I actually found across the board it was good. It was top notch. Yes, Rosamund Pike was able to portray the coolness, the icy coolness of the Aes Sedai really well because that is how, at least if I, my memory of the Aes Sedai, that's you would hardly ever imagine them sweating. That is one description that I think I remember from the books that you would never see an Aes Sedai sweat. That's how cool they are. They're never under stress, and I think that Rosamund Pike was able to portray that very well. Daniel Henney, again, I was really surprised with his casting, casting as Lan Mondragoran. Yes, because I mentioned this to you guys before that I did picture Lan to be like a heftier, taller, close bearded dude.
Like a Jamie
Uh,
Lannister.
Not even bigger.
Bigger. Oh,
Uh,
okay, bigger. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek TNG, that kind of a guy.
Yep.
Precisely that he was the actor I was portraying in my head. I was imagining in my head as I was reading the books back then.
Mm, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, but he did pretty well. He was able
yeah.
to portray Lan pretty well. I really loved Barney Harris as Matt Cawthon, although he did look a little bit older than the other two because maybe again because of his beard.
Yeah.
He looked a little older, especially when he was standing beside Joshua Stratovsky
Oh yeah.
playing
Yeah.
Rand al'Thor, who was like
Yeah. Exactly.
Carrot Top.
It.
Yeah,
They don't look like they share a birthday, a birth year, a birth
yeah.
year.
Yeah, but I did like the fact that Joshua Stradovsky grew into his character as the episodes continue. Because at the
Mm.
start, I was like, "Who the hell is this? Why
Yeah. Yeah.
he's not Rand al'Thor. He
Mm-hmm.
does not depict Rand al'Thor
Well,
for me."
because I had no idea who Randall is or will be.
It didn't
It
bother.
didn't bother me at all.
Yeah,
It's just
me
like some
too.
dude. It's kind of like how well a bit different when again we're doing Lord of the Rings. I already knew who Frodo and Sam was going to be.
Mm.
So when I saw their casting, and then again, obviously these are halflings, they're childlike they're creatures. So
Yeah.
it's a bit different. We have a human male here. I didn't know how important he'll eventually become or what kind of role he's gonna have. So I was like, okay, it's gonna. I just hoped in. I guess when I was seeing him and the three others who became the the four who's going to be in this journey, I just in my heart of hearts was just saying, please don't let this be some sort of teeny bopper adaptation, because we've
Ah.
had several high fantasy shows that kind of like kind of leaned a little too heavily on that. I'm looking at you, Shanara. The and it I ended up starting to really at the beginning really wanted to like it, and then kind of like okay, it's too much of the teeny bopper things. That's
Yeah.
um,
Well, if they
taking you
stay a
away.
little bit more faithful to the story, I think that these guys are gonna grow up real soon, real fast, real soon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
because of everything that's gonna happen. Yeah. Okay, and then of course the quote. I'm gonna skip. Yeah, the quote. In the book, it's actually the wheel of time. The wheel turns as the wheel wills. So it's actually a separate thing. But the quote that is like the iconic quote.
Yeah.
The last quote of Moraine in episode 1. The wheel turns. And then was that legend is turned to myth is forgotten, and that entire thing in one age, an age long forgotten, a wind blew in the misty mountains, something. The wind was not the beginning, but it was a beginning. That
Yes.
is, that entire thing is actually a quote that occurs, that happens often in the books, and it again goes back to the cyclical idea that everything, things that happened in the past
Will
are bound to
eventually
happen again.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes back into that, and it becomes like the go-to quote if you're like a wheel of time, if you're like a real wheel of
Makes
time
you
fan.
want to wonder, especially when that sequence with Dana, makes you wonder if it's a good thing that because if I'm not mistaken, the Dragon Reborn has a choice. He can either, um, support the wheel or break it. Support? Is that the right word? Um, he can either keep the wheel
The
going
status quo.
or break it and stop it. So
Mm.
it will be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, I'm not gonna reveal anything
No,
today.
it's
Yeah,
not.
and yeah, my last high actually, it's more of an experiential high. Because like I said, I haven't read the books in like close to 20 years, and I haven't even finished everything. I ended with Path of Daggers at like book 7 or book 8. Uh, but it was fun to have my memory jogged with all of the small details. I found myself like when they suddenly showed the Pad and Fane. I was
Mm.
like, without Matt saying the name, oh, Pad and Fane. It all of a sudden came back to my memory, like, oh, it's Pad and Fane. Oh,
Right.
it's Tom Marilyn. Oh, it's this, it's that, and the fact that I haven't read it in so long and then that it's still there, it made my experience a little bit more fun
Yeah.
in
Mm.
a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It's like
Right? So
discovering an old memory. It's like, hey, I remember that.
yeah,
It's
I
like
know this, and then
discovering
and
an
then
old
especially when
friend.
I saw that last sequence, when I saw him, I'm like, oh, cool. So they introduced him this early. Okay, that's
Ah,
good.
okay. Early. See? All right.
Who is that?
I'm gonna.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Early.
Okay. Well, that was a meaty discussion right there
Yep.
already. So it makes it sound like we have nothing bad to say about it. This really when our lows is not exactly bad things. It's just the things that we nitpick about these things because we have something to nitpick about everything. So I'll start it off. Now, Paul made a good point about how the wide shots made it feel epic already. But in my for the first 3 episodes, and I'm wondering if it's because I watched 3 episodes back to back right away. Is that for me the epicness hasn't set in yet, and um, I'm assuming it's because I'm attaching epicness to to I haven't seen how the problem, whatever the problem is, like the dark one, right, is an existential threat just yet. Unlike, for example, when we were introduced to, let's say, Sauron or the One Ring, we know that this is a source of power that has destroyed, that has remade, Middle Earth several times over already in the past, and it's caused so many problems. And the fact that these four little halflings in the Lord of the Rings story have to go up against such odds, right? And they needed the help of, elves and dwarves and men for them to be able to achieve their goal. We haven't had that kind of thing yet. We still are in the run from from the starting area, I guess if you could say, from the starting area all the way to their version of Rivendell, to the White Tower. And it's still those micro encounters. So that I've still waiting for the epicness to actually get fully realized. I know it's getting there. I know we have these wide shots. I know we're in for a treat, but I'm still waiting for that to actually happen. Um, Unfortunately, the first time around, I felt that the four were kind of forgettable.
Hmm.
I feel that, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if it's because of how um it how for me the characters all, I guess especially the three boys, they kind of feel the same. It's kind of like one character
Mm.
cut into three different
Okay.
characters. Um, um, Egwin is a little bit more. It's a bit special because of how we've been setting, how she's the female of the group. She's the only one who has the potential to actually wield the one
Cut.
power properly. Um, and we have had a lot of this front loading for her, whereas the other three, right? We've had smatterings of their backgrounds, and I have yet to see something to make me want to root for the three.
Hmm.
Right? I know I want. I kind of already have an idea of where um, Egwin's character is gonna end up in, right? Or what slot I can put her in my
Mm.
epic journey.
Mm.
But the three, I'm still kind of. It's starting to get there, obviously, right?
Mm.
We have the we have Rand, who unfortunately I read ahead and figured out what he's gonna be. Um, but he seemed to be hot-headed in the beginning, reckless, and then suddenly supportive. It just didn't feel very organic to me. Then we have
that
Matt.
that yeah that argument that he had with Moraine and that part, that was pretty weird that he suddenly had that outburst.
And suddenly later on he says, like, he even brings up the fact that, hey, you only had one conversation with this person who's bringing us to God knows where, and then you're on her side, and then suddenly he's on her side. So I don't know. Matt and Perrin seem to be the most organic. Matt is the problem child. He is, oh, I forgot his name's character, but he's, you know how in the Breakfast Club we have the problem child, there are two of them.
Emilio Estevez.
No, oh, not him. He's the sporty one. There's
The guy who's that.
the yes, the guy who's got the dark hair.
Oh,
forgot
the
his-
goth look.
There's a
Goth
goth look
girl,
girl,
and then the girl with the
there's
trench, the guy with the trench coat.
Oh, okay.
exactly him. There you go. He's very edge lordy. So he, even though he's a problem, but also at the same time he's the he's the he's the guy who's like, okay, take it easy, you know. Let's follow them, and because it seems like the best plan. And later on, we find out that he wants to come home because he's worried about his sisters,
Yeah.
and all that. So I'm still waiting for the build up. Perrin is much better.
Mm.
He's obviously devastated with what
Mm.
happened.
Yep.
And he's still dealing with it. And then
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
he seems to be the gentlest of the three. I haven't seen him turn. There's something about in episode 2. Was it episode 2 when they visited the dead city? Or was it episode 3? I don't know. It was episode 2.
No, episode 3 is just him and Egwene.
Shadar Logoth is too.
It was in episode. I'm talking about Matt.
Oh,
That's when he
Okay.
grabs that
the
questionable
ruby hilted dagger.
the questionable dagger. And so there's obviously a setup for something for something he will have to deal with. So I'm still waiting for them to be memorable. I think it's gonna get there. I think the first 3 episodes was a front loading, trying to us to realize that these are just normal people who are thrust into fantastic things, and now they're about to do fantastic things, and that's where I think they'll become memorable for me. At least I'm hoping. The world building, again, I think it's because we watched all 3 episodes all at the same time. It's meaty. It's very meaty, but I didn't have the opportunity to sit down and say, that was fantastic world building, right? I didn't get to appreciate a lot of things, and it's because we were preparing for this episode as well. I had to absorb as much as I could, right, in one sitting, because I haven't had a chance to rewatch everything. Maybe when I rewatch, then a lot of these things will become a lot of the small details, the things like Joel pointed out, like the costume, the weapons, the fact that the Tinkers have huge dogs. I mean, these small details are things that I really like knowing on. And I think the more that maybe this is what's gonna also motivate me to probably consume the books, and because of the detail that I'll be looking for, and then I'll rewatch the episodes once the entire series has dropped and appreciate it further. I have this question about why the producers wanted to rush this show. Because
The 8
we're slated
episodes.
for 8. It started on the second week of November, which means we only have 6 weeks left in the year, and they're just rushing through it because of 3 episodes dropping now. They're in time to finish before Christmas, or the 24th, I think, is the last episode. So I'm wondering why. Is there a particular reason why it has to be this part of the year? It's interesting. Maybe it was because it was allotted to be finished this year, and they just had to delay the first. I haven't read of any delays in terms of releasing it. But so it's just interesting. Did they feel that they needed to shove 3 episodes down everybody's eyeballs right away to make it more compelling? Right? I don't know.
Maybe part of the world building. Because if it was just one, then people would probably forget what
let's say in
happened
the first episode.
before the next Friday.
The first episode would be the pilot episode. Would you have thought that there was a strong pilot episode? Yeah,
Honest,
where did it end? It ended
I-
in
it
the
ended with them leaving.
Leaving the
MSQ.
town, yeah.
Which was
I
a
actually
good
like that
thing.
first episode. I
It's
love
one-
that
one of
battle
those-
scene.
Exactly, it's one of those really good cliffhangers because now
It's pretty strong, and then you makes you want to watch the next episode because you want to see what happens,
What
because that's the
happens
start of the journey.
correct, yeah, and obviously the entire magic thing that was happening on was like very fantastic. It makes you wanna wow, cool magic, and that how Lan was dancing around Moraine, protecting her. So I was just wondering why they had to like show all 3 episodes right away. So I was wondering if it's because of it kind of affected the pacing for me, right? Because
It's
I had to-
probably fiscal year things.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. We want to say that hey, we produced this much not box office. Amount streaming ratings, blarb, and this part of the year. Maybe. So which brings me to the last thing. Wondering about how the pacing will be. Having not read the book, but only seeing names, the titles of the 8 episodes, my assumption is that this is the first book. This is the entirety of the first book. Because the last episode, episode 8,
Have
is
they
called
released the title of
Eye
the last episode?
of the World.
Oh,
Which
Okay.
seems
Which is the
to
title of the
me, if
first
I understand correctly, the Eye of the World is a very important thing. So them titling the last episode, the final episode, the Eye of the World, seems to make me think that they are tackling the entirety of the book, or at least most of it. So, wow. I mean, I don't know how much time actually occurs in the first book, but yeah, it makes me feel that it's going to be a tricky story, a tricky balance of the pacing. I sort of already have some problems with the pacing. I already mentioned earlier how some of the 4 characters seems to be wishy-washy about their position with their relationship with Moraine, and which is a small bit. We have bigger problems in terms of pacing and the other things that we talked about. I'm just worried about how this thing's gonna be. Paul, what are your thoughts about those?
So my lows are the cast. So I know I put cast as highs, but that's just specifically for Rosamund Pike. The problem is because of her, the others felt like lackluster. But I think that given more episodes, they'll probably develop more. I think
This is
the
same
problem
thing
is
I'm probably saying about
Yeah.
some of the characters are forgettable.
yeah. I think it's because of just the lack of episodes for the newer faces. Because it might be just the connection of seeing Rosamund Pike on screen and knowing that she's gonna pull off a beautiful, a fantastic
her reputation
performance.
precedes
performance
her. Yeah.
versus seeing the others for the first time and just trying to see what they can bring to the show, right? So I think it's one of those things where I have to give them a chance.
Didn't the reputation of Michael McElhatton already precede him? So it's like, oh, look, it's Tywin Lannister.
No, I mean
Huh?
Tam. Are you talking about Tam?
Yes, I'm talking about Tam Altar.
that's not Tywin Lannister.
That's not Tywin Lannister.
Isn't it?
No.
Oh, he looks like it.
No, but he's
He's a well-known actor as well, but he's
Yeah.
not Tywin Lannister.
I thought he was Tywin Lannister.
Yeah. So that's one of the lows. I think my other low is
Oh,
not,
sorry, no, not Tywin Lannister. Roose Bolton.
Yeah, Bolton. There
There you go. Roose
That's
Bolton.
Bolton.
Bruce.
I was just looking to like, oh, far, he is there, but he's Bruce Bolton. There you go. Sorry, so sorry. It is Bruce Bolton.
So the good news is there's still time to improve, right? And the other good news is that's the only thing I put as a low, which means that I really enjoyed everything about the show. So, I mean, I hope the list doesn't, I don't start adding to it as
it doesn't
the
increase.
the episodes move along. Yeah, but okay, over to you, Joel.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was fast. I'll even be faster. I like the entire thing. I have no lows. No joke. Yeah,
Suddenly
I
this
have
is all
some.
deleted.
I have some plot stuff like the gap between in justifying their leaving. The parents didn't even we don't even see
Nope.
any disagreement from the parents.
Just a nod.
Okay,
They're
so
all
it's like-
nodding.
I'm assuming
it's like-
I that was a little. I also had a problem with that a bit, but I'm assuming that they can't say no to an Aes Sedai, so it's just
I was actually. I don't think they were afraid of the Aes Sedai. I think they were afraid of the Trolloc horde coming down the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, but the explanation was only given to the 4 kids. It was
Right.
given to the entire town.
no.
Oh, that's right. That's correct. Yep.
Right. If it had been given to the entire town, that would have covered that.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But that never happened. Maybe some additional scenes were
dropped.
were there,
Yeah.
but they were cut because they needed to cut it for time. I don't know why. Because it's Amazon Prime, they can run for 2 hours if they want.
No one cares.
Yeah.
2-hour pilot
A
episode.
2-hour first pilot episode, right?
Gosh.
So that's pretty cool. My next thing,
Unprecedented.
CGI. The CGI, it looked a little wonky, a little weird at times in the battle in Two Rivers. Mostly when Moiraine was like trying to get the bricks out of the inn from the inn. For me, it looked a little bit wonky. Then again, maybe it's because I'm expecting like I don't know, Lord of the Rings level.
Weta
Remember,
workshop.
this is just that was just a house, okay? That wasn't the walls of Helm's Deep.
What? No, what?
The bricks that you were throwing away was the bricks from the house. I had the same feeling, but the explosions were obviously we're only talking about tiny stones compared to, let's say, the explosion in when
Was
the
it
wall of
practical?
Helm's Deep
That was
broke.
CG, right?
It was CG.
No,
But Helm's Deep was practical. It's all practical.
Gosh, Helm's Deep was practical.
it's not practical to have like a
Entire wall explode.
well, right? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the CG was pretty weird for the battle of in Two Rivers. Just for that, just a little bit. I love the whole lightning thing and all the rest. The first time that we see her weaving the magic, that was pretty cool. But just some small. Again, these are nitpicks. And even the evil shadow in Shadar logo, or the virus thing, or whatever.
The
nanobots.
nanobots.
They look
Kinda
like nanobots.
It was kind of
they were
cheesy.
even, like,
I really
falling.
thought that was like
Yeah,
nanobots. I was like,
Yeah,
They,
oh, it
right?
they look
consumed
like
the-
ants
consumed the
eating the horse.
Yeah, and it looked like they were sci-fi special effects, like Sci-Fi
Yeah.
the channel.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
really like low budget special effects.
Gotcha. Right. Okay.
Right?
That's why
Yeah.
it was so dark that episode.
I guess that's why they made it so
Yeah.
dark, so that it wouldn't really. I guess they blew their
budget
special
in
effects.
the first
their budget
episode.
already.
Oh my God.
With Lan and Moraine fighting the
Yeah,
Trollocs.
That's it, guys.
That's the whole
Got no
season's
more.
budget.
No, lost the
Yeah,
budget.
from now on, we're just gonna suggest that magic was made, and then it's gonna happen. All right, and then this goes back to Arnold's point in his highs about the whole Wheel of Time, actually this being either the future or the past. Some of the elements of the world of the
See?
wheel are actually very
I
anachronistic.
wonder if that real? Is that how it went in the books?
I don't remember Tom Marilyn having a guitar that looked like an actual guitar,
Exactly.
or him actually having a coat that looked like a trench coat in our times. And then they talk about the tarp. Were tarps even in use already during medieval
I guess the
fantasy
word
times?
tarp could have been something. It could have been
But,
a
What
cloth
else would
tarp.
it mean? Tarp.
I like something to cover a wagon, for example. You could.
I don't know, but wouldn't you call that? I don't know. You wouldn't call it tarpaulin because tarpaulin is, is a
It's the
specific
plastic.
material.
Yes, I
The
know.
material, yeah.
Right?
I know.
And then even Matt's dice. I mean, I don't. Did they have dice during that? Again, for me it was anachronistic, and I think it goes back to your point, Arnold. Like, we don't know if this is actually the future or maybe sometime in the past. But again, it's the wheel of time.
If it is the future, that guitar is an heirloom.
Yeah, or maybe like there's a land somewhere that kept the technology and how to make guitars.
Maybe
And they
that's where
just
the
keep on
tinkers
making.
come in.
Yeah, yeah, right. So yeah, so that's that. And I'm going to sort of also write on the point that Arnold said about these first three episodes not really being how do you say it? Uh,
We were
yeah, the pacing and all of
yeah.
the world building not really us not really being able to appreciate it. And yeah, it seems and I think it's because in the first three episodes we're all bombarded with a whole lot of details
Mm.
that we need to take in that we can't really quite take in right away.
Mm.
I mean, there's the talk of Manetheren, there's the Tinkers, the Aiel, Shadar Logoth, who is a dark friend, what is a dark friend,
Dark
and
Friend.
oh yeah, that last name that's actually yeah, you can forget that because he hasn't been named in
Oh
the show yet.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, all of these things, there are so many details in the first three episodes
Yeah.
that we, as an audience member, as someone who's just watching it, it makes it hard for you to appreciate it. I got it. I had a lot more epiphanies when I actually had my rewatch. So I
Yes.
guess Arnold, I'm thinking that it might happen for you too
Yeah.
when you do your rewatch.
Exactly.
It might come up better because you're able to actually because you already saw it, and then you'll be able to appreciate it better. I sort of had also the exception that the because I've read it before, so like I said,
Exactly.
memories kept popping in my
Mm.
head. So okay, oh that's that. Oh,
Exactly.
they're showing these guys here, right? So I had that kind of an experience. But yeah, it seems that there's too much information that's being put in our face in the first
Mm.
three episodes that I hope that it gets better because from now on it's going to be one episode per
Be
week.
one episode from now on. Exactly. Well, that's it for this episode. It's quite of a chunky episode, but we did talk about three episodes
Mhm.
for the Wheel of Time. So forgive us. The wheel has been turning for ages, and for us, this is a new beginning. Next
Wow.
time, we
Wow.
will be
Wow.
we will be probably meeting the self-titled Dragon Reborn, because that's the title of the next episode. So we're looking forward to that one. As always, dear audience, we hope you tune in to next episode and continue hanging out with us. Till then, bye.